Well, to the campaign trail now. Police and prosecutors in Missouri forming a so-called truth squad for the Democratic White House hopeful. The squad targets anyone who runs a misleading or false ad about Obama, and the controversy comes because, as I said, some of those in the truth squad are state and county prosecutors and sheriffs. Here's one of them.
We want to keep this campaign focused on issues. We don't want people to get distracted, and the Missourians don't want to be distracted by these divisive character attacks. So we're here to respond to any character attacks, to set the record straight.
Whether it is directly attributable to the campaign or to one of the soft money operations, if they're not going to tell the truth, then somebody's got to step up and say, wait a minute, that's not true, this is the truth.
Well, one of the people not happy about this is the governor of Missouri, Matt Blunt. He joins us now. Governor, good morning. He's by phone.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here. Okay, so you released a written statement calling this scandalous beyond words and intimidation. How so?
Absolutely, and I think truth squads are a part of modern politics. Campaigns set up groups of people that will respond to allegations, provide their perspective, correct the record when it's necessary, and that's well and good. That's a part of the democratic process. We encourage it, but what I found troubling is that a campaign enlisted prosecutors, and then those prosecutors really specifically talked about targeting their opponents. They talked about responding to alleged violations of the law. Generally, when a prosecutor talks about responding to an alleged violation of the law, that means you're going to prosecute somebody. Now, I don't know what law they might have been suggesting somebody would be in violation of, but they certainly used words like that, violation of the law. When they announced it really as two prosecutors and a sheriff as key members, and I think that is a concern. Wouldn't be concerned if a prosecutor was a member of a truth squad in their personal capacity.
But isn't that the case here, Governor? Because let me tell you that the his spokesman for his Missouri campaign said publicly in response to your statement, it is the height of absurdity that Governor Blunt would try to deceive voters about the role of respected Missourians across the state who want to see this election be about the truth, not false attacks. And they say that all these prosecutors and sheriffs are doing is on their own time joining this group that tries to debunk misleading ads.
That certainly is not how they rolled it out. It's certainly not how they announced it. One of the key prosecutors involved talked about alleged violations of the Missouri ethics laws. I don't know what a law they might have been referring to, but certainly they rolled it out as prosecutors willing to take action as prosecutors. They talked about how they would respond to how a false statement might be a violation of the law. I don't believe that would be the case if somebody made a claim about Senator Obama's candidacy. So I think that clearly it was rolled out as prosecutors and law enforcement personnel willing to take aggressive action against citizens who would speak their mind in the presidential campaign. That's
Is there the risk, Governor, that Missourians may fear, because these are prosecutors and sheriffs cracking down on the so-called misleading ads? And I should mention to our viewers, one of the misleading ads they point to is the claim that Obama is going to raise taxes on the middle class, and these NRA ads, which we've covered on this show. Is there a risk that regular old citizens are going to perceive that there's a police power involved?
Absolutely, and I think there is a risk that a common citizen would think that if they watch a YouTube ad and send it on to one of their friends to watch, that somehow a prosecutor might abuse their authority. In Missouri, as in most states, we provide our prosecutors and sheriffs and law enforcement personnel with really extraordinary power. And it's power that should not be abused and needs to be carefully discussed, that no citizen, no Missourian would feel that they were intimidated as they thought about how they could be involved in this presidential campaign.
All right, let me ask you this, though. What's good for the goose may be good for the gander, because Republican John McCain has a truth squad that includes the Attorney General of South Carolina. So, are both sides doing this, Governor?
I think both sides very well may have prosecutors and attorneys general that are involved in setting the record straight when it's appropriate. I don't know that both sides have, and I don't believe both sides have, had a situation where prosecutors organized as prosecutors, were out there talking about alleged violations of the law and actions they might take in response to those alleged violations of the law. So I think it is a very different circumstance to have a truth squad that consists of somebody that happens to be a prosecutor, as opposed to a truth squad organized as a group of prosecutors that are talking about how they're going to respond to what they claim would be violations of the law.
Before I let you go, let me ask you, since you're the governor and you don't think this is appropriate, what, if anything, you are going to do about it or can do about it?
Well, you know, they have really stepped back from how they announced this. When they announced this, I think it was intimidating. At least one of the prosecutors involved has now said that that's not their, that they won't be doing that at all. So I think in a lot of ways they have reversed course. I'm pleased to see that. I think it would, if there was intimidation, it would be a federal offense and something that I would urge federal authorities to look at very carefully and take swift action to ensure that no Missourians feels intimidated in this very important election cycle.
Well, this story is picking up a lot of heat from both sides, actually, and online in particular right now. Governor, interesting that you got brought into the mix as well, and we appreciate you being here this morning to offer your thoughts on it with us.
Pleased to be here. Thanks. Have a good day.
All the best to you. In the meantime, I should tell you that literally moments from now, you're going to hear from the Obama campaign on this, which also wants to weigh in. So there's the controversy, folks. You heard the governor say that both sides have these so-called truth squads, and the question is whether law enforcement officers, prosecutors, sheriffs, or on the McCain side, an attorney general should be involved in these, and what kind of message does that send to voters? Well, Josh Earnest is the Deputy Communications Director for the Obama campaign, Fair and Balanced. Now he joins us by phone. Josh, good morning to you.
Good morning, Megan. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for being with us this morning. Tell us your reaction to Governor Blunt's assertion that just having the law enforcement officers as part of the so-called truth squad may have an intimidation effect on voters.
I think that he's clearly mischaracterizing what's happening here. The truth of the matter is the McCain campaign on a number of occasions and his supporters have repeatedly said things about Senator Obama that aren't true. He's run an increasingly dishonorable campaign, and so it makes sense that our campaign would organize respected local officials to set the record straight, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Well, nobody has any trouble with having a truth squad. I mean, that's not unusual, and it's not particularly problematic as far as I can tell with anybody. It's who's on it, and plucking officials like a prosecutor, a county prosecutor, and a sheriff who come out and say there is going to be, that there will be payback for any violations of ethics laws or any misleading or false ads. That's scary to the average Joe who just wants to express his opinion.
They're not promising payback. What they're promising to do is to set the record straight, and that's exactly what they're going to do. And we've done this all over the country. The McCain campaign has done the same thing. As you pointed out, they have the South Carolina Attorney General supposedly doing that for them. They have a prosecutor in New Mexico that they say is doing the same thing. But I'll tell you what we did not do. What we did not do is we did not use official taxpayer resources to actually execute this plan. That's exactly what Governor Blunt did. Governor Blunt put out a news release attacking our campaign, using the official seal of the governor of Missouri, using official taxpayer resources, and as a native of the state of Missouri, I think that's offensive and embarrassing.
Yeah, but you had that prosecutor. We showed her up there, Jennifer Joyce from the city, and then you had Bob McCullough from the St. Louis County prosecuting attorney giving interviews to the press talking about how they're going to do it. And just to pick up on your point about how it's not a threatening retribution, they do say that they plan to, quote, respond immediately to any ads or statements that may violate Missouri ethics law. To me, as a lawyer, that sounds like you may be in some legal trouble with these guys if you overstep what they consider to be the bounds.
To me, as a campaign professional, it sounds to me like we have respected local officials who are going to respond immediately and set the record straight. And given the number of lies and distortions that John McCain and his campaign supporters have told about Barack Obama, this is an effort that's critical to our campaign, and we're pleased to have respected, credible local officials all across the state of Missouri who are supporting Senator Obama and are committed to setting the record straight about what he will do to make things better for working families in this country.
Josh, let me ask you, because this comes on the heels of a wider criticism. There was a Bloomberg columnist who criticized the Obama campaign today, and there have been some others who have said, look, Obama can't go out there and say that he is the proponent of First Amendment rights and free speech rights and then do this kind of thing where he threatens people who say things about him he disagrees with. In particular, there's been some criticism about cease and desist letters that the campaign is sending to news organizations saying, you get those NRA ads off of your air or there's going to be trouble. Is that consistent with Barack Obama's message that the First Amendment reigns supreme?
I think the irony is the only people that are leveling threats are people in the McCain campaign. You just had Governor Blunt threatening to include federal officials and trying to quell this effort. So I think the only people who are launching threats are the McCain campaign.
But I wanted to talk about what you guys did, which is you do send these cease and desist letters. Well, because I have you on the line now, and I want to ask you about it, because I'm looking at one of these cease and desist letters. It says,
that's right.
Look, to this news organization, failure to prevent the airing of these NRA ads may be probative of an underlying abdication of licensee responsibility. It sounds like a threat to news organizations that are running commercials people want to pay for and run.
Well, what it is actually asking news organizations and television stations all across the country to follow the federal communications law, which is that if there are people who are specifically advocating for the election or defeat of a candidate, that those ads need to be funded properly. And in the case of the NRA, they're not. That is even aside from the NRA saying things that aren't true about Barack Obama's record.
Your claim that it's misleading.
Barack Obama does support the right of law-abiding citizens to carry firearms, and he said as much during the recent historic Supreme Court decision. So there are people out there who are not telling the truth about Senator Obama's record, and that underscores the need for us to line up folks, including in Missouri, who are going to set the record straight about Senator Obama, because we know that John McCain and his supporters are going to continue to tell lies about him.
All right, Josh, and I know that accusation's been hurled on both sides, and we appreciate you coming on to defend your side and your campaign.
I appreciate the opportunity, Megan. Thank you.
That's a story that caught fire at the end of last week. More email filled up over the weekend, too, getting to that. Just
and
like
feel free to weigh in again. America's News at FoxNews.com.
Quickly.